A millionaire sees his childhood love begging with two 3-year-old twin children and recognizes her. But what he does next is unbelievable. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story, everyone. Marcus Bennett, a cold-hearted millionaire, was making his way through a busy intersection when something caught his eye. A woman, wrapped in filthy, tattered clothes with unkempt hair, sat hunched on the sidewalk. Her face was etched with exhaustion and sorrow. Beside her, 2 little girls, twins no older than 4, wore ragged outfits. One whimpered softly, wiping her tears with tiny, dirt-streaked hands. "Sweetheart, don't cry. Someone will help us soon." The woman's voice trembled with both fear and tenderness as she gently stroked the child's hair. A sharp ache tightened in Marcus's chest. Even through the grime and despair, he recognized her. It seemed impossible, yet there she was. Madeline Carter, the girl he once adored from a distance. Back in school, she never paid him any attention except to mock his awkward attempts to impress her. Now she was here, fragile and defenseless. Marcus stepped closer, his pulse quickening. "Madeline," he called out hesitantly. Slowly the woman lifted her head, her eyes widening at the familiar voice. Marcus, for a brief moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was thick with unspoken pain. Then Madeline averted her eyes, as if trying to vanish. "What happened to you?" he asked, his concern slipping through. Madeline's fingers tightened around her daughter's. "It doesn't matter. We're fine. Just go, Marcus." But Marcus couldn't look away. One little girl whimpered from hunger, while the other clung to her mother's sleeve, staring at him with wide, wary eyes. The weight of their suffering hit him like a punch to the gut. "You're not fine. Come with me. I'll help you." "No, I can't." Madeline's voice wavered. "I'm not leaving you and your daughters out here in the cold. You're coming with me." And that's final. The girls studied him, both curious and hesitant. The one who had been crying pressed her lips together, struggling to hold back her sobs. Madeline hesitated, but the determination in Marcus's eyes left her no room to argue. She knew she had no other choice. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed. "Get here in 5 minutes," he ordered, before shoving the phone back into his pocket. "Let's go. There's nothing left for you here." He reached out a hand, and after a long pause, Madeline took it. When the car arrived, Marcus carefully lifted one of the girls, while Madeline carried the other. The children, drained and weak, rested their heads against their mother's shoulders. The car ride to Marcus's estate was silent and heavy. Madeline gazed blankly out the window, her mind lost in thoughts she didn't want to share. Marcus stole glances at her, wondering how her life had crumbled to this point. When they finally arrived, Madeline stiffened. The massive mansion, glowing with warm lights and surrounded by a pristine garden, felt like another world. "You don't have to do this, Marcus. We can." "Enough, Madeline. You're coming inside, eating and resting." The housekeeper, Mrs. Margaret, greeted them at the door with a startled expression, but said nothing. Marcus told her to set up a room for Madeline and the girls. While Mrs. Margaret handled it, Marcus led Madeline and the children into the living room. He started the fireplace, filling the space with comforting warmth, and arranged for food to be prepared for them. "Thank you, Marcus." "Really, thank you," Madeline said, her voice trembling as tears welled up in her eyes. The girls curled up beside her on the couch, their small bodies finally feeling safe. Marcus gave a slight nod, his mind spinning. He understood that tonight was just the beginning. Tomorrow, he needed answers. He had to find out exactly what had happened to Madeline and how she had ended up in this situation. As the first light of dawn filtered through the windows of Marcus's mansion, Madeline was already awake. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching her twins, Sophia and Emma, still fast asleep. For the first time in ages, her daughters were warm and safe. That should have brought her comfort, but instead, a lump formed in her throat. Elsewhere in the mansion, Marcus was also awake, sitting in his office, replaying the events of the night before. The image of Madeline on the street, clutching her daughters, wouldn't leave his mind. He had to understand how this had happened. The Madeline he had known in school had been confident, full of energy, destined for success. Not long after, a quiet knock sounded on Madeline's door. "Miss Carter, breakfast is ready. Mr. Bennett would like you and the girls to join him." Madeline thanked the housekeeper before gently waking the twins. A few minutes later, they made their way downstairs to the dining room, where a lavish breakfast spread awaited them. The girls ran eagerly to the table, their eyes lighting up at the sight of fresh fruit, bread, and juice. Madeline, however, hesitated. "Please, sit," Marcus said from the doorway. He wore a crisp white dress shirt, his stance relaxed, but the sharpness in his gaze told a different story. "Thank you," Madeline replied, pulling out a chair, her eyes on Sophia and Emma as they ate happily. The silence between her and Marcus was thick, unspoken words lingering in the air. He knew he had to be careful, but he was determined to get to the truth. When the girls finished, the housekeeper led them to another room to play, leaving Madeline alone with Marcus. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, meeting her gaze directly. "Madeline, we need to talk. I need to understand what happened to you." She lowered her eyes, her hands tightening in her lap. "It's not a story I like to tell." "I'm not here to judge. I just want to help," Marcus said, his tone steady. He paused before continuing. "When I saw you yesterday, you and your daughters were in a situation that, well, it doesn't just happen overnight. What happened, Madeline?" She inhaled deeply, shutting her eyes for a moment before speaking. "After high school, I started dating Brandon Hayes. You remember him, don't you? The most popular guy in school." Marcus's jaw tightened. He remembered Brandon all too well, someone who was admired by everyone but never hesitated to step on others to get what he wanted. "Brandon and I started dating right after prom. I was in love, and I thought he felt the same," Madeline continued. "A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. When I told him, I thought we'd handle it together, but he abandoned me. He said he wasn't ready to be a father and didn't want the responsibility. That was the last time I ever saw him." Marcus's fists clenched as he fought back the surge of anger rising in him. "He just left you?" Madeline nodded, tears gathering in her eyes. "Yes, I had no one to turn to. My parents weren't in a position to help, and I did my best to provide for the girls, but it just wasn't enough. Eventually, I lost my job, and before long, the bills started piling up. When Sophia and Emma turned 2, we were forced out of our apartment. Since then, we've been living on the streets, depending on the kindness of strangers." Marcus sat there quietly, trying to process everything she had just shared. The Madeline he had known was always strong, yet life had broken her in ways he never could have imagined. "Why didn't you ever reach out for help?" he finally asked, his voice softer now. "I was ashamed," Madeline admitted, "ashamed of how much my life had fallen apart. I didn't want anyone to see me like this, especially not you." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling a mix of sadness and compassion. "Madeline, no one should have to go through this. You're not alone anymore. I'll help you and the girls get back on your feet." "Why, Marcus? Why are you doing this?" He hesitated for a moment, but he knew he had to be honest. "Because no matter what, I care about you. I always have." Madeline sat there in silence, unable to find the words. Marcus's words echoed in her mind as she tried to process everything that was happening. That night, as Madeline tucked the girls in, she replayed his words in her head. For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope. But she also knew that accepting help meant confronting her biggest fears and rebuilding her life from nothing. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the mansion's tall windows, Madeline woke to the sound of Sophia and Emma's laughter as they played on the carpet beside the bed. For a moment, it felt surreal. Just a day ago, she had been sitting on a sidewalk, unsure where their next meal would come from. She stretched and called the girls to get ready. Fresh clothes had been laid out, carefully picked by the housekeeper. The thoughtfulness struck her, though she still felt out of place in such an extravagant home. When they came downstairs for breakfast, Marcus was already in the living room, scanning some documents. He looked up at the sound of the twins' footsteps and offered a small smile. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. Sophia nodded eagerly while Emma clung to her mother's hand. "Yes, it was the best sleep we've had in a long time," Madeline replied, a note of gratitude in her voice. "I'm glad to hear that." Marcus motioned for them to sit. "You don't have to worry about anything today. Just take it easy. The girls can play in the garden or anywhere they want." Madeline hesitated. "Marcus, I don't know how to thank you for all of this, but I don't want to take advantage of your generosity. As soon as I can, I'll find a job," and Marcus lifted a hand, cutting her off. "There's no rush, Madeline. Before anything else, you need to recover. Don't stress over timelines. We'll figure this out together." Even with his reassuring words, Madeline still felt a weight pressing on her chest. Accepting help had never been easy for her. But her daughter's well-being came first, and for their sake, she swallowed her pride. After breakfast, Sophia and Emma ran off to play in the garden under the housekeeper's watchful eye. Meanwhile, Madeline helped clear the table, uneasy about not doing more. Marcus found her in the kitchen, shaking his head when he saw her trying to wash the dishes. "Madeline, you don't need to do that." "I have to, Marcus. I can't just take and not give anything back." Marcus sighed. "If that's how you feel, fine. But right now, I want to talk about the girls. Do they have everything they need?" Madeline hesitated, thinking it over. "They could use a few things, like clothes and shoes. Most of what they have is worn out." "Perfect. Let's go get them what they need." Madeline's eyes widened. "That's not necessary, Marcus. I can take care of it later." "No debate," Marcus said with a warm smile. "I'll get the car." Half an hour later, Madeline, Sophia and Emma were at a children's boutique downtown, Marcus observing everything carefully. The girls were thrilled, darting between racks and trying on new outfits. "Can I really have this, Mummy?" Sophia asked, holding up a shimmering blue dress. Madeline's chest tightened at the sight of her daughter's eager, hopeful eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, you can." Emma, the quieter twin, held up a pair of fresh sneakers. "Me too, Mummy." Madeline nodded, her smile soft with emotion. "You too, my love." Marcus stood by, quietly pleased, watching their joy. After gathering clothes, shoes, and a couple of toys, he took them to a restaurant for lunch. During the meal, the twins chatted non-stop, giggling and sharing little stories. Madeline observed them, a wave of relief washing over her as she watched them so full of life. "You've done so much for us today, Marcus." "Thank you," Madeline said, her gratitude genuine. "I just did what anyone should," Marcus answered effortlessly. "You deserve this." Madeline dropped her gaze, guilt creeping in. She knew Marcus was being generous, but she couldn't shake the memories of how she had once treated him. "You're a much better person than I ever was to you, Marcus." She murmured so softly it was almost lost in the noise of the restaurant. Marcus's expression darkened slightly. "Madeline, the past is the past. What matters is what happens from here on out." She nodded, though the weight of regret still lingered. When they got back to the house, the twins ran straight to the garden, proudly showing off their new clothes. Madeline stood by the living room window, watching them with a rare smile. For the first time in years, she felt secure. Marcus, beside her, broke the silence. "They're amazing little girls. They're my strength," Madeline admitted. "Even in the darkest moments, they kept me moving forward." Marcus looked at her, admiration in his gaze. "You're stronger than you think, Madeline. To go through everything you have and still stand tall. Most people couldn't do that, could they?" She exhaled, her voice laced with uncertainty. "I don't know if it's strength or just stubbornness, but either way, thank you." Marcus smiled. "If you ever need anything, you know you can count on me." Madeline nodded, realizing she might finally have someone to rely on. The next morning, Soft sunlight filtered through the curtains as Madeline stirred awake. Sophia and Emma were still sound asleep, their faces peaceful, no longer weighed down by the struggles of the past. Madeline gazed at them for a moment, a mix of relief and cautious hope settling in. Maybe a fresh start wasn't out of reach after all. After getting dressed, she went downstairs and found Marcus in the kitchen, sipping coffee and scanning the newspaper. He looked up at the sound of her footsteps and smiled. "Morning. Sleep well?" "Yes, thank you. And you?" "Like a rock," he said, folding the newspaper and standing up. "I made coffee for you. Take a seat." Madeline thanked him, feeling an unexpected sense of comfort in the routine that was slowly forming. As she sipped her coffee, Marcus sat across from her and said, "I was thinking, now that the girls are settling in, we can start focusing on you." "On me?" she asked, surprised. "Yes. You mentioned wanting to work again. What kind of job are you looking for?" Madeline stayed quiet for a moment, considering her options. "I don't have a degree, so my choices are limited, but I'm willing to do anything that allows me to take care of my daughters." Marcus nodded. "That makes sense, but what if you could study, finish school, and get a job that truly makes you happy?" Her eyes widened. "Study? That's not possible, Marcus. I don't have the time or money for that. You'd have both here. I can cover the costs and make sure the girls are well taken care of while you study." Madeline shook her head, unable to believe what she was hearing. "You've already done so much for us. I can't accept anything more." Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious. "Madeline, this isn't just about you. It is about Sophia and Emma. If you have the chance to grow, it will help your daughters in the long run. Just think about it." Marcus's words hit Madeline hard. She knew he was right, but she still struggled with the weight of her pride and self-doubt. That evening, after putting the twins to bed, Marcus asked Madeline to meet him in his office. He had something important to discuss. "Madeline, I have a proposal for you." He handed her a small envelope. She opened it to find information on business and entrepreneurship courses. "I want you to think about taking these classes. You're smart and determined, and I know you have the potential to do something great. This will give you the skills to stand on your own and build a better future for your daughters." Madeline looked at the papers, her mind racing. "Marcus, this is too much. I don't know if I can do it. You're more capable than you realize, and you don't have to decide now. Just consider it." Madeline clutched the papers, torn between fear and hope. Over the next few days, she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus's offer. Slowly, she began to see this as a real chance to change her life, and most importantly, secure a future for her daughters. After much thought, she finally agreed. She signed up for the courses, and with Marcus's support, started studying during the day, while the housekeeper looked after the twins. The beginning was tough, but as she learned new things, Madeline felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each step forward was a small victory, and she held on to the belief that she was creating something lasting. Marcus kept a close eye on her progress, always offering encouragement whenever she needed it. He knew Madeline had to start believing in herself just as much as he believed in her. Over time, Madeline began to realize how much Marcus had come to mean to her. His steady presence and unwavering support were slowly breaking down the walls she had built around herself. Madeline's routine was shifting rapidly. In the mornings, while Sophia and Emma played in the garden, she spent hours studying in the office Marcus had set up for her. At first, every page felt like an uphill battle, but over time, she found her rhythm. Marcus's steady and constant encouragement pushed her even further. One afternoon, while Madeline was going over her notes, Marcus entered the room with a serious look. Right away, she knew something was off. "We need to talk," he said, shutting the door behind him. Madeline's stomach tightened. "What is it?" "I found someone from your past," Marcus said, sitting across from her. "Brandon Hayes." The name crashed into Madeline's mind. Brandon, the man who had left her when she needed him the most, the father of her daughters, who had never acknowledged them. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay composed. "What does he have to do with this?" she asked, keeping her voice steadier than she felt. "I've been looking into some things. I wanted to understand more about what happened to you after high school. I found Brandon and confronted him." "You did what?" Madeline shot up, stunned. "I needed to hear the truth about what he did to you and why he walked away from you and the girls. Marcus, you had no right." "Maybe not, but I did it for you." Madeline didn't respond, her chest tightening. She knew Marcus meant well, but dragging Brandon back into her life felt like reopening a wound that had barely started to heal. "What did he say?" she finally asked, her voice cautious. Marcus leaned his elbows on the table. He admitted everything. He said he knew you were pregnant, but didn't want to take responsibility. He figured it was easier to just disappear. "Let's play a little game for the ones who only read the comments. Type pizza in the comments. Only those who made it this far will get it. Now let's move on." She hadn't expected anything different from Brandon, but hearing it out loud still hurt. "Did he ask about the girls?" she asked, her eyes filling with tears. "Number?" "He didn't even mention them." Madeline clenched her fists, trying to hold back the emotion rising in her chest. As much as she resented Brandon, a part of her had always hoped that one day he'd regret what he did, or at least wonder about the daughters he'd abandoned. Marcus stood up and rested a hand on her shoulder. "Madeline, you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here." She met his gaze, struggling to hold herself together. "Thank you, Marcus, but there are things I need to deal with on my own." That night, after putting the girls to bed, Madeline sat at the kitchen table, staring at a cup of tea that had gone cold. Marcus's words replayed in her mind, and the thought of Brandon lingered like a shadow she couldn't shake. She knew that if she ever wanted to move on, she had to face the past once and for all. In the days that followed, Madeline tried to carry on as usual, but her thoughts kept drifting. Memories of Brandon and what Marcus had told her felt like a weight pressing down on her. Marcus noticed the shift in her, but gave her space, keeping an eye on her with quiet concern. One morning Madeline made up her mind. She picked up the phone and dialed Brandon's number. After a few rings he answered, his tone detached. "Brandon, it's Madeline. We need to talk." There was a pause before he finally responded. "About what?" "It's been years. It's about the girls. You've never cared to know anything about them, but that has to change. Not for me, but for them." Brandon let out a sigh. "Madeline, I've already told you. I don't want to be involved." "What do you want me to say? That I regret it? Because I don't." Madeline's chest tightened, but she kept her tone firm. "So you'll never meet them? Never take responsibility?" "I've moved on, Madeline." His voice was final. "I think you should too." Before she could get another word in, the call ended. She stood frozen, gripping the phone, trying to process the emptiness left behind by that conversation. It was the closure she needed, but also a harsh reality check. Brandon would never be part of her daughters' lives. That evening, when Marcus walked in, he found Madeline sitting on the couch, the twins asleep beside her. He sat next to her, waiting patiently for her to speak first. "I talked to Brandon," she finally admitted, breaking the silence. Marcus's brow furrowed. "And?" "Exactly what I expected. He wants nothing to do with them. He feels nothing." Marcus's hands curled into fists, his anger barely contained. "He has no idea what he's walking away from." Madeline gazed at her daughters, her voice calm. "I didn't do it for him. I did it for them. I needed to be sure there was nothing left to hope for." "And now?" Marcus asked. "Now I move on. I won't let them grow up under the weight of a father who never cared." Marcus nodded, seeing the resilience in her eyes. He knew she was still hurting, but he also saw something new, a determination that hadn't been there before. The next morning, Marcus surprised Madeline with a small package. Inside was a notebook and an elegant pen. "What's this?" she asked, curiosity sparking in her voice. "A way for you to plan your future. I want you to write down your goals and what you need to reach them. We'll figure it out together." Madeline smiled, touched. "Thank you, Marcus. I don't know what I'd do without you." "You do exactly what you're doing now, rebuilding. I'm just here to make sure you have every chance to succeed." With Marcus's encouragement, Madeline threw herself into her studies, determined to build a better life for herself and her daughters. Facing Brandon had been painful, but it had freed her. She no longer had to look back. Days passed in a steady rhythm. Madeline focused on school and raising the twins, while Marcus remained by her side, offering unwavering support. Their bond deepened naturally, marked by quiet understanding and thoughtful gestures. One afternoon, as Madeline reviewed her notes in the living room, Marcus walked in, holding a folder and wearing a knowing smile. She looked up, intrigued. "What's that?" she asked, setting her notebook aside. "An opportunity," Marcus replied, handing her the folder. Inside were documents and an initial contract. Madeline skimmed the top page. Project Assistant, Bennett Enterprises. She frowned and looked at Marcus, confused. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm not trying to push you into anything, Madeline, but I thought this could be a way to gain experience while applying what you're learning. It's a temporary role with enough flexibility for you to keep studying and caring for the girls." Madeline hesitated, scanning the details. The offer was generous, but the idea of working with Marcus felt complicated. Their connection was growing, and mixing emotions with work could be messy. "Marcus, I don't know if I'm the right person for this. I have no experience." "You have more than you think. You're learning fast and have already proven you can tackle obstacles, and I'm not saying this as a favor. I genuinely see potential in you." Marcus's tone was steady, and Madeline could feel the sincerity in his words. Taking on this role was a major step, and doubt crept in. What if she wasn't good enough? After a brief hesitation, she took a deep breath and managed a small smile. "All right, I'll do it." Marcus's expression brightened, clearly satisfied. "You won't regret it. We'll take things one step at a time, and you'll see just how capable you truly are." The following morning, Madeline met Marcus's team. Though nerves threatened to get the best of her, she quickly noticed he had surrounded her with patient and supportive people. The job demanded precision, organization, and the ability to handle tight deadlines. Still, Madeline met every challenge head-on. Meanwhile, the twins seemed happier, settling comfortably into their routine. Afternoons were filled with laughter as they played in the garden or colored at the kitchen table, turning the once quiet house into a place brimming with energy. Whenever possible, Marcus joined them, strengthening his bond with the girls. One evening, while Madeline was reviewing reports in the office, Marcus entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. He placed one beside her and took a seat on the nearby couch. "You're doing great," he said, watching her. Madeline looked up, her cheeks warming. "I still have a lot to figure out, but I'm enjoying the process." "That's what matters. Growth comes from effort, and you're proving just how strong you are." She glanced away, overwhelmed by the emotions his words stirred in her. "Thank you for believing in me, Marcus." "Really?" He gave a quiet smile, and the silence that followed felt natural, even comforting. As the weeks passed, the connection between them deepened. Subtle gestures, longer looks, brief touches, hinted at something neither was quite ready to admit. But the shift was undeniable. One afternoon, during a team meeting, Madeline presented an idea to improve project logistics, catching everyone off guard. Marcus, clearly proud, didn't hide his reaction. "Great suggestion, Madeline. We'll put this into action right away." She thanked him, a newfound confidence settling within her. For the first time in years, she felt truly fulfilled. That evening, as they walked toward the parking lot, Marcus stopped and met her gaze. "Do you even realize how much you've grown since you arrived?" She shook her head, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I still feel like I have so much to prove." "You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You're already incredible," just as you are." Her heart pounded, and for a moment, everything around them blurred. Marcus took a step closer, as if to say more, but the sound of excited voices broke the moment. "Mommy, look what we made!" Sophia and Emma ran up, waving their colourful drawings. Madeline laughed, bending down to hug them. Marcus watched, warmth filling his chest at the sight of them together. That night, as Madeline tucked the girls into bed, she reflected on how drastically life had changed. Marcus's unwavering support, the love he showed the twins, and the way he pushed her forward, it all meant more than she could express. Lying in bed, gratitude and uncertainty mixed in her mind. She knew she was falling for Marcus, but the fear of letting herself love again still lingered. Meanwhile, Marcus found himself thinking about Madeline more and more. She was strong, determined, and compassionate, qualities he deeply admired. Despite the weight of their pasts, he felt something undeniable between them, something worth pursuing. And as the days passed, those feelings only became harder to push aside. The nights in Marcus's mansion grew quieter, but the emotions between them only grew stronger. After long days filled with work and time spent with Sophia and Emma, Madeline often found herself lost in thought. Sitting on the edge of her bed in the dim glow of the bedside lamp, she reflected on how much her life had shifted. Yet, even with Marcus's unwavering support and warmth surrounding her, remnants of the past still lingered. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep either. He sat in the living room, staring at the flames dancing in the fireplace, his mind circling back to Madeline. There was something about the way she withdrew at times that unsettled him. He knew they needed to have an open conversation about what they were both feeling in order to move forward. The next morning, while Sophia and Emma played outside in the garden, Marcus decided it was time. Madeline was in the kitchen, unpacking the groceries that had just been delivered. Marcus stepped in quietly, watching her for a moment before speaking. "Madeline, can we talk?" She paused, recognizing from his tone that this wasn't just a casual chat. "Of course, what's on your mind?" Marcus motioned for her to follow him to the living room. Once they were seated, he hesitated before starting. "There's something I've wanted to say for a while, but I wasn't sure how to bring it up." Madeline leaned in slightly, her heart picking up pace. "What is it? I admire your strength so much, but I can tell you're still holding on to a lot of guilt. I think it's time to let it go." She turned away, his words striking a sensitive spot. "Marcus, I know I've made a lot of mistakes. The choices I made led me here, and sometimes I feel like I don't deserve the life you're giving me." Marcus shook his head. "No one's perfect, Madeline. We all have regrets, but you've been doing everything you can to move forward. You deserve this and so much more." His words felt like a balm on wounds she had kept buried for too long. Madeline took a deep breath, realizing she couldn't keep running from her own insecurities. "Marcus, I've never actually apologized for how I treated you when we were younger. I was selfish and immature, and I didn't appreciate the people around me. I hurt you, and I'm sorry for that." Marcus was quiet for a moment, letting her words sink in. Finally, he spoke. "Madeline, the past doesn't matter anymore. We've both changed, and what really counts is what we're building now. I forgive you, and I hope you can forgive yourself." Tears welled in Madeline's eyes, but this time they weren't from sadness. It felt as if an enormous weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She looked at Marcus, who met her gaze with steady reassurance. "Thank you, Marcus, for everything. You don't have to thank me. I'm here because I want to be." That moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for them. The weight of the past began to fade, and for the first time, they felt completely open with each other. In the days that followed, Madeline noticed a lightness she hadn't felt in years. She threw herself into her work and studies with renewed energy, while Marcus continued to stand by her every step of the way. One evening, after tucking the twins into bed, Madeline found Marcus outside in the garden, sitting in a rocking chair. The soft moonlight cast a gentle glow on his face as he stared into the distance, lost in thought. "Are you okay?" Madeline asked, settling beside him. Marcus smiled. Yeah, I was just thinking about how much has changed. I remember the night I found you on that sidewalk. I never imagined we'd end up here. Neither did I, Madeline admitted. But I'm glad we did. Me too. The quiet between them felt natural, as if words weren't needed. Marcus glanced at Madeline, the soft moonlight reflecting in her eyes. He realized he was falling for her but didn't want to rush. Madeline, do you believe in second chances? He asked, breaking the silence. She smiled, considering his question. I think I'm starting to. Marcus nodded, reassured by her answer. He knew they were moving towards something real, something they both needed, but only time could prove it. The next morning, Marcus decided to plan something special for Madeline and the twins. He arranged a small trip to a nearby farm, a chance to spend the day outdoors, away from the noise of the city. Sophia and Emma were thrilled when they heard about it, and Madeline, though surprised, was touched by the gesture. The day was full of laughter and memories. The girls fed the animals, ran through open fields, and enjoyed homemade ice cream. Madeline, meanwhile, felt a deeper connection to Marcus than ever before. He looked so at ease, playing with the twins as if he had always belonged in their lives. By the time they headed home, Sophia and Emma were sound asleep in the back seat, exhausted but content. Madeline glanced at Marcus as he drove, a faint smile on his face. Thank you for today, she said softly. There's no need to thank me. It was special for all of us. Yes, it was, and it meant everything to me to see the girls so happy. This is just the beginning, Madeline. There are so many more moments like this ahead of us. She smiled, comforted by his words. For the first time in years, she believed the future could be bright. When they got home, Marcus carried the twins to their room, making sure they were tucked in before switching off the lights. Madeline stood nearby, moved by how much care and effort he put into them. That night, as she lay in bed, Madeline felt ready to leave the past behind. Marcus was right. Second chances were real, and she wasn't going to waste the one she had. Mornings at Marcus's mansion had become full of energy. Sophia and Emma ran through the halls, their laughter filling the space with warmth. Marcus, who once lived a quiet life focused only on work, now found himself fully involved in the twins' world, and more importantly, in Madeline's growth. One morning, Madeline was getting ready to leave. Marcus had invited her to join him for an important meeting, a chance to see firsthand how he led negotiations and worked with his team. She was excited, but also nervous. She didn't want to make any mistakes or feel out of place. Are you ready? Marcus asked, waiting by the entrance. More or less. I just hope I don't mess up. You'll do great, Madeline. Trust yourself. When they arrived at the office, Madeline was taken aback by its impressive design. Marcus led her into the meeting room, where several executives were already seated. He introduced her as a promising collaborator, making her feel both proud and slightly self-conscious. During the meeting, Madeline paid close attention, soaking in every detail. Marcus encouraged her to share her thoughts, and to her surprise, her ideas were well received. You have a very clear perspective, one of the executives noted. Thank you. I'm still learning, but I'm happy I could contribute, Madeline replied with a humble smile. Marcus observed the exchange with pride. He had always believed in her potential, but seeing others recognize it made the moment even more rewarding. After the meeting, Marcus took her to a nearby cafe. They sat at a table outside, and Madeline, now feeling at ease, ordered a cappuccino. You were incredible today, Marcus said, taking a sip of his coffee. I was so anxious, she admitted, but it felt amazing to be part of it. This is just the start. You're creating something meaningful, Madeline. She looked at him, overwhelmed with gratitude. None of this would have happened without you, Marcus. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. All I did was guide you. The success is all yours. Their conversation was cut short when the housekeeper called, letting Madeline know that Sophia and Emma were asking for her. Marcus grinned. Looks like your little ones miss you. They can't stay away for too long. Madeline laughed. When they got home, the twins ran straight to her, wrapping their arms around her tightly. Marcus stood back, watching the moment unfold, feeling his bond with the girls deepen. He adored their endless energy and how their laughter could light up any space. That afternoon, Marcus decided to set up a small picnic in the garden. Sophia and Emma were beyond excited, eagerly helping pack sandwiches, fruit and juice into a basket. Madeline sat on a blanket spread across the grass, watching the girls race around with Marcus. "You're getting more and more natural with them," she said, as he settled beside her. "They're amazing kids. There's no way not to love them. Thank you for being so good to them, Marcus. They feel safe and happy here, and that's all that matters to me." Marcus smiled. "They're part of you, Madeline, and for me that's enough." His words struck something deep inside her, making her heart race. She knew her feelings for Marcus ran deeper than gratitude, but fear of opening up still held her back. As night settled in, Sophia and Emma finally grew tired, falling asleep in their mother's arms. Marcus helped Madeline carry them to their room, and together they gently tucked the girls in. As they stepped into the hallway, Madeline stopped and looked at him. "You've changed our lives, you know that." "You've changed mine too, Madeline." The way Marcus looked at her made her feel both exposed and secure all at once. She could no longer ignore what was happening inside her. Later that evening, while Madeline was in the kitchen making tea, Marcus walked in. He stood quietly for a moment, watching her before stepping closer. "Madeline, there's something I need to say." She turned to him, her heartbeat quickening. "What is it?" Marcus hesitated, then chose honesty. "Since you came here, everything in my life has shifted. You and the girls have given me something I didn't even know I was missing. I care about you, Madeline, more than I can even explain." His words washed over her like a wave, catching her off guard. For a moment, she couldn't find the right words, but then she smiled, her eyes shining. "Marcus, I care about you too, but all of this, it's still so new to me. I just need time." Marcus nodded, appreciating her honesty. "I get it. I'm not asking you to rush. I just needed you to know how I feel." Their moment was interrupted by a soft sound from upstairs. Sophia had woken up and was calling for her mother. Madeline smiled and went to check on her, leaving Marcus standing alone in the kitchen. He exhaled, his gaze landing on the untouched teacup on the counter. Earning Madeline's complete trust would take time, but he was in no rush. What he felt for her and the girls made every moment of patience worthwhile. In the days that followed, his connection with Madeline continued to deepen, shaped by small but significant moments. As time passed, Madeline found herself letting him in more, while Marcus remained steady, allowing her the space she needed to heal and trust. There was still a long road ahead, but neither of them shied away from the journey. The sky over New York was layered with heavy clouds, a sure sign of an approaching storm. Madeline sat in Marcus's office, reviewing the reports he had assigned her. She was more confident in her abilities now, but still approached every task with the careful determination of someone who understood how much this job meant for her future. Marcus entered the room, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He set one down beside her and took a seat across from her, watching her for a quiet moment before speaking. "You're doing really well. You know that?" Madeline glanced up, caught off guard by his easy tone. "I'm trying, but I know I still have a lot to improve. You hold yourself to a high standard, and that's a strength, but I want you to know I'm proud of everything you're doing." A soft flush crept onto her cheeks as she turned back to her computer screen. His words felt like more than just a professional compliment. There was warmth in his voice, something deeper she couldn't quite ignore. As time passed, their connection grew naturally. Marcus had a way of showing he cared, whether through simple gestures or words that made Madeline feel valued. On her part, she noticed herself slowly lowering the barriers she had built, though she remained cautiously guarded. One evening, after the twins had gone to bed, Marcus invited Madeline to join him on the mansion's terrace. She hesitated, but let curiosity lead her. The view took her by surprise. The city lights sparkled like scattered stars, and the crisp night air carried a quiet stillness that contrasted with the usual chaos of New York. Marcus stood beside her, quietly admiring how the city's glow reflected in her eyes. "I used to come up here whenever I needed to clear my head," he finally said. "But lately, I don't feel that urge as much. I think it's because I found something that gives me more peace." Madeline turned toward him, sensing there was more beneath his words. "What gives you that peace, Marcus?" "You," he said without a moment's hesitation. His answer caught her off guard, and for a second, she was speechless. Marcus stepped closer, closing the space between them. "From the moment I saw you that night, something shifted inside me, and the more time I spend with you, the more I realize what I feel for you is different from anything I've ever known." Madeline's heart pounded. She knew her feelings for Marcus had grown, but hearing his confession made everything feel more tangible. "Marcus, this is all still new to me. I'm trying to find my own footing, to be strong for myself and the girls. I'm not asking you to rush, Madeline. I just want you to know where I stand." She took a steadying breath, meeting his gaze. There was an honesty in his eyes that she couldn't dismiss, and for the first time in years, she felt like maybe it was safe to open her heart again. "I feel something for you too, Marcus. But I need time. I need to be sure I'm ready to take that step." Marcus nodded, fully respecting her need for space. "I'd wait as long as it takes." Their moment was broken by the low rumble of thunder in the distance, signaling the storm's arrival. Madeline turned her eyes to the horizon, feeling the wind brush against her skin. "We should get inside before the rain starts," she suggested. Marcus nodded, but the look in his eyes revealed that this conversation had shifted something between them. In the following days, the air between Madeline and Marcus became increasingly charged with emotion. There was an unspoken tension in their exchanges, as if they were both navigating the fine line between personal and professional. One evening, Marcus decided to surprise Madeline with a special dinner. He asked the housekeeper to take care of the twins and personally prepared the meal for the two of them. When Madeline came downstairs and saw the beautifully arranged table, she was taken aback. "You did all this?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "I wanted to do something special for you," he responded with a warm smile. Over dinner, their conversation flowed naturally. They spoke about everything from work to childhood memories and dreams for the future. The ease between them grew, making them feel more comfortable in each other's presence. "I never thought I'd be here getting a fresh start," Madeline admitted thoughtfully. "And if it weren't for you, Marcus, I don't know where we'd be right now. You'd be out there fighting like you always have. I just had the privilege of helping. But it was more than that. You believed in me when no one else did, and that changed everything." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "I will always believe in you, Madeline. Always." His touch was steady and reassuring, and Madeline felt the barriers she had built over the years begin to break down. She knew she still had fears, but she also knew Marcus was unlike anyone she had ever known. When dinner ended, Marcus walked her to her bedroom door. For a brief moment, they simply stood there, gazing at each other. "Good night, Marcus," Madeline said softly, her smile gentle. "Good night, Madeline." As she closed the door, she leaned against it, her heart pounding. For the first time in years, she let herself picture a future where she wasn't alone. Meanwhile, Marcus descended the stairs with a quiet smile. He knew it wouldn't be simple, but he was willing to take every step necessary to win Madeline's heart completely. That night, as the rain finally began to fall, they both drifted off to sleep with a newfound sense of hope, as if the future was slowly coming into focus. Their daily lives settled into a natural rhythm, a seamless flow that neither of them had anticipated. The twins grew more attached to Marcus, and he, in turn, showed them genuine care and affection. Yet Madeline still had lingering doubts, not about her emotions, but about whether she was truly ready to trust someone again. One afternoon, as Madeline worked on reports in her office, her phone buzzed on the desk. It was a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, she saw a photo of Marcus sitting in a restaurant with an elegant woman. The caption read, "Do you really know who he is?" Madeline's heartbeat quickened. She was aware of Marcus's professional connections and social life, but the message unsettled her. The doubts she had been trying to suppress came rushing back. Who was this woman, and why would someone send a message like that? Marcus came home later that day, appearing at ease. He found Madeline in the living room, while the twins played nearby. The moment he saw her face, he knew something was wrong. "Is everything okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. Madeline hesitated before handing him her phone. "I got this today." Marcus's expression darkened as he looked at the image. "That was a business meeting. She's a consultant we're bringing on for a project." Madeline wanted to believe him, but the message had left a mark on her trust. "Why would someone send this to me, Marcus? It feels like they're trying to warn me about something." "I don't know, but I'll find out, Madeline. You have to trust me. I would never do anything to hurt you." His voice remained firm, carrying a sincerity that was impossible to fake. Madeline met his gaze and saw something undeniable. The openness of someone with nothing to conceal. "I want to trust you, Marcus, but this completely caught me off guard. My life has been filled with letdowns, and that fear isn't easy to shake." Marcus gently took her hands, giving them a reassuring squeeze. "I understand, Madeline, and I won't push you. I just need you to know that no matter what, I'm here to face everything with you." In the days that followed, Marcus dug into the source of the message and discovered it had been sent by a disgruntled former employee he had let go months earlier. He presented Madeline with solid proof, showing her there was nothing to fear. A wave of relief mixed with guilt washed over Madeline. She knew she was still working on trusting, but she also realized Marcus was willing to go to great lengths to make her feel emotionally safe. That night, after putting the twins to bed, Madeline made her way to Marcus's office. He was deep in his work, scanning over some documents, but as soon as she stepped inside, he looked up. "Can we talk?" she asked, shutting the door behind her. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Madeline settled into the chair across from his desk and took a deep breath. "I want to apologize for doubting you. That message rattled me, but that doesn't justify my lack of trust. You've always been honest with me, and I need to be fair to you." Marcus's expression softened as he gave her a gentle smile. "You don't need to apologize, Madeline. I know how hard it is for you to let your guard down. I'm here to support you, not judge you." His words struck something deep within her, and she felt tears begin to form. "You're unlike anyone I've ever known, Marcus. It terrifies me, but at the same time, it makes me want to believe in happiness again. Let's play a little game for those who only read the comments. Type Coca-Cola in the comments. Only those who get this far will understand. Now back to the story." Marcus rose from his chair and walked over to her, kneeling beside her. With a tender touch, he wiped away the tear slipping down her cheek. "You can be happy, Madeline, and you don't have to do it alone." That night, something shifted between them. The walls Madeline had held up for so long finally started to crumble. In the days that followed, their connection only deepened. Marcus remained patient and steady, while Madeline gradually allowed herself to trust him completely. One afternoon, as they walked through the park with Sophia and Emma, Marcus watched Madeline laughing and playing with the girls. In that moment, an unshakable certainty settled in his heart. This was the life he wanted. He wanted to be with her and the twins forever. When they got home, Marcus asked the housekeeper to keep an eye on the girls for a few hours. He led Madeline up to the mansion's terrace, the same place where they had once shared a life-changing conversation months earlier. "Madeline, there's something I need to say." She turned to face him, her pulse quickening. "What is it?" Marcus reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box and opening it to reveal a delicate ring. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you and the girls. You've brought a light into my life that I never thought I'd have. Madeline, will you marry me? Tears welled in her eyes as she covered her mouth in disbelief. Marcus? Yes, I will. A bright smile spread across his face as he slipped the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a firm embrace. The storm that had once clouded the beginning of their journey had finally passed, and now they were ready to start a brand new chapter together. As the twins rested peacefully in the next room, Madeline and Marcus sat together, discussing their future, a simple wedding built on love and a life rooted in the trust and respect they had worked so hard to build. That night marked the start of a journey filled with joy and obstacles they would face as a true family. The preparations for Madeline and Marcus's wedding were modest but deeply meaningful to both of them. Madeline wanted a small, intimate ceremony with only those who had become part of her new life. Sophia and Emma were overjoyed at the thought of being flower girls, and Marcus made sure they were involved in every step, from choosing the flowers to picking out their dresses. Though happiness filled each moment, Madeline knew there was still one final piece of her past she had to confront. She had long accepted that Brandon, the twins' biological father, would never step up, but she felt the need to see him one last time. Marcus, I need to talk to Brandon again. Madeline spoke one evening while they sat on the terrace. Marcus's brows furrowed with concern. Do you really think that's necessary? Yes, not for him, but for me. I need to put this behind me once and for all. Marcus took her hand, his gaze filled with understanding. If that's what you need, I'll be right here. The next day, Marcus tracked down Brandon's address. Madeline chose to go alone, but knowing Marcus was just a call away reassured her. When she arrived, she found Brandon leaning against a wall outside a small bar, his face worn by years of poor choices. Madeline, he muttered, caught off guard. Yes, it's me. We need to talk. Brandon exhaled heavily and motioned for her to follow him to a quiet corner table. He looked uneasy, as if hoping to get through this quickly. Why are you here? He asked, his tone flat. I came to tell you I don't expect anything from you anymore. You made your decision years ago, but I need you to know that I gave the girls everything I could, and now I'm moving forward. Brandon sat silently, staring at the empty glass in front of him. I know I messed up, Madeline, but I was never cut out to be a father. I never knew how. That doesn't matter anymore. They have someone who loves them like they're his own. Marcus is everything you never were and never will be. Brandon didn't argue, but the look in his eyes showed he understood the weight of her words. Madeline stood, feeling lighter than she had in years. As she walked away from the bar, she knew she had said everything she needed to. When she got home, she found Marcus outside with the twins, helping them set up a play tent. How did it go? He asked as she approached. It went just the way it needed to. Now, I can finally move on. Marcus smiled and wrapped her in his arms. I'm proud of you. In the days that followed, Madeline poured herself into wedding preparations and building her new life with Marcus and the girls. For the first time, she felt like she had a real home, not just a place to live, but a life full of love, laughter, and belonging. On the morning of the wedding, Madeline stood in front of the mirror, radiant in an elegant white dress, reflecting on just how far she had come. The twins, dressed like little princesses, ran into the room with small flower bouquets in their hands. You look beautiful, Mommy, Sophia beamed. Thank you, my loves, and you both look just as stunning. With her heart swelling with emotion, Madeline walked down the aisle toward Marcus. The moment their eyes met, all her worries disappeared. The ceremony was simple, but every vow they exchanged reaffirmed the love they had built, not just as husband and wife, but as a family. When it was over, Sophia and Emma ran into Madeline and Marcus's arms, squealing with joy. The future that once felt uncertain had now transformed into a promise of happiness and unity. After the wedding, Marcus's mansion felt more vibrant than ever. Sophia and Emma quickly embraced the idea of having a complete family, and Madeline finally felt like she had found where she truly belonged. Their days were filled with laughter and cherished moments as she and Marcus built their new life together. On their first morning as husband and wife, Madeline woke up to the gentle sound of birds singing in the garden. Turning over, she found Marcus beside her, watching her with a warm, content smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Bennet." She smiled, still adjusting to her new last name. "Good morning." "Ready to start our new life?" "More than ready." The early months of their marriage were filled with gratitude and renewal. Marcus supported Madeline as she balanced her work and studies, while also being a devoted father figure to Sophia and Emma. He made sure to be there for every important moment in the girls' lives, whether it was a small school achievement or their bedtime stories. One afternoon, as Madeline was sorting through paperwork in the office, a wave of dizziness washed over her. Assuming it was just exhaustion, she decided to take a break. However, the symptoms didn't go away in the following days. Marcus noticed how drained she looked and insisted she see a doctor. "It's just fatigue, Marcus." "I'm fine," she said, trying to reassure him. "Maybe, but it won't hurt to check. I just want to make sure you're okay." Reluctantly, Madeline agreed and scheduled an appointment. She felt a little anxious but didn't expect any significant news. However, after a routine checkup, the doctor revealed something that would once again change their lives. "Congratulations, Mrs. Bennet. You're pregnant." Madeline sat there in stunned silence, trying to process the words she had just heard. Pregnant? The thought of having a child with Marcus filled her with both excitement and surprise. When she got home, she found Marcus in the living room, playing with Sophia and Emma. Seeing his warm smile reassured her that this was the perfect time to share the news. "Marcus, can we talk for a second?" He caught the serious note in her voice and asked the girls to go play in their room. Once they were alone, Marcus stepped closer, intrigued. "What is it, Madeline?" She took a deep breath, trying to steady her emotions. "Marcus, I went to the doctor today, and I found out I'm pregnant." For a moment, Marcus just stood there, letting the words sink in. Then his face lit up with a huge smile. "You're pregnant?" She nodded, eyes glistening with happy tears. "Yes, we're having a baby." Marcus pulled her into his arms, his heart overflowing with joy. "This is incredible, Madeline. I don't even know what to say." The following weeks were filled with excitement as they began preparing for the new addition to their family. Sophia and Emma were overjoyed when they heard they would have a baby brother or sister, eagerly helping Madeline pick out clothes and decorate the nursery. One quiet evening, as they watched the twins sleeping, Marcus and Madeline reflected on everything they had been through to reach this moment. "It feels like we've been through so much in such a short time," Madeline said, gently cradling her growing belly. "And every challenge led us here. I'm happier than I ever imagined." She smiled, grateful to have Marcus by her side. Despite all the hardships, they knew they were building a life filled with love and hope. The pregnancy brought them even closer. Marcus was always attentive, ensuring Madeline was comfortable, while Sophia and Emma eagerly awaited their little sibling's arrival. Every part of the preparation was filled with love and excitement. However, like any journey, there were moments of worry. During a routine checkup, the doctor advised Madeline to get additional rest due to a minor risk of complications. When Marcus heard this, he became even more attentive, taking over many of the daily responsibilities so Madeline could relax. "I don't want you worrying about anything except taking care of yourself and the baby," he said firmly, but tenderly. Madeline chuckled softly. "You're spoiling me too much, Marcus." "You deserve all the care in the world, Madeline." The months flew by, and before they knew it, the due date was near. One peaceful evening, as a soft breeze swayed the curtains, Madeline went into labor. Marcus remained calm, though his emotions were evident, and quickly got her to the hospital. Hours later, the cries of a newborn filled the delivery room, bringing indescribable joy to everyone's hearts. It was a boy, strong and healthy. Marcus held the baby in his arms, overwhelmed with emotion, while Madeline gazed at them both, tears of happiness streaming down her face. "Welcome to the family, my son," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. Sophia and Emma, who had been eagerly waiting in the hallway, rushed in to meet their baby brother. Their faces lit up as they promised to always look after him. Life at Marcus's mansion now felt complete. What once seemed like an unlikely family had become a shining example of love, unity, and resilience. Every challenge had made them stronger, and their future had never looked brighter. As Marcus cradled the baby and the twins played nearby, Madeline realized she had finally found what she had always longed for, a home filled with love and people who would do anything for one another. What did you think of Marcus and Madeline's story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate this story from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with all our stories and explore more heartwarming tales by clicking on the end screen.